Hey, Dr. Bob with Carolina Value Pet Care. Thanks for joining us today. I want to talk about a particular issue that we see with some dogs with skin allergies, and that is a yeast infection of the skin. These can be extremely challenging to deal with sometimes, but let me talk a little bit about why do dogs get yeast infections. So a couple of considerations. So when we see a dog with an allergy, if that particular dog has a tendency to sort of have more oily skin or to overproduce oils in response to the allergies, almost invariably these dogs at some place on their body, they were most likely to develop a yeast infection. Now, we know that dogs are going to bite, scratch, lick, chew, and rub and so forth from allergies. However, once these dogs get a yeast infection, the yeast itself is actually going to intensify or magnify the severity of the itching. So it's imperative that we not just get the allergy under control, but we've also got to get that yeast infection under control as well. Now, because it depends on the body of that particular dog, where they're getting more oil production, where is going to sort of dictate where these allergies, or excuse me, where the yeast infection is going to show up. Now, most of the time when we see it, it's going to be more in the feet and what we call the nail bed. So right about where you see the dog's toenail coming out, if you look at that nail bed where the nail is actually coming out of the foot itself, if you see a lot of sort of kind of flakiness going on, a lot of brown discoloration, that's going to be really consistent with a yeast infection. So the feet are a very common area for it to show up. So if you see that and your dog is not itchy, then, well, again, somewhere we've got this homeostasis where there's a happy sort of relationship between skin and yeast. Not too worried about it. We're not going to try to treat it. But if your dog's really licking at those feet, you better believe first we got to get that allergy under control, but we also have to get rid of that yeast infection because those dogs will still be going pretty intensely at their feet until we get the yeast infection under control. So understand, yeast is not a bacteria. So it takes a completely different kind of medication. So antibiotics will not treat a yeast infection, but yeast are a living organism. And yes, we do have a medication that's very safe to use. We'll generally have to go for at least a month, maybe longer, depending on the severity. And some of these dogs, once these yeast infections get established in the skin, they will want to keep coming back. So we do have to keep treating these dogs in order to stay ahead of it. So hopefully that'll give a little bit of an insight to what's going on.